intro music fades slightly and continues in the background. Hello, and welcome back to the channel where we dive deep into history's greatest mysteries. Today, we're embarking on a journey into the depths of legend and time, to explore a question that has captivated thinkers, dreamers, and explorers for over 2,000 years. Did Atlantis truly exist? This single question has sparked endless debates, inspired countless books and movies, and driven adventurers to the far corners of the globe. Is it a cautionary tale, a work of fiction from one of history's greatest minds, or is it a forgotten chapter of human history, a real physical place swallowed by the sea? Join us as we sift through the evidence, separate fact from fiction, and try to uncover the truth behind the legendary lost empire of Atlantis. Slight pause, music shift. Our story begins in ancient Greece, around 360 BC, with the philosopher Plato in two of his famous dialogues. Timaeus and Critias, Plato introduces the world to a civilization unlike any other. He describes Atlantis as a vast and formidable power, an island nation situated beyond the Pillars of Hercules, which we now know as the Strait of Gibraltar. According to Plato's account, Atlantis wasn't just a simple city-state. It was a marvel of engineering and social structure, a confederation of kingdoms boasting incredible wealth and technological prowess. He painted a picture of a magnificent city with concentric rings of land and water, connected by massive canals and bridges large enough for ships to sail through. The city was adorned with temples covered in precious metals like gold, silver, and a mysterious glittering metal called orichalcum, said to be second only to gold in value. The Atlanteans were described as a noble and wise people, descendants of Poseidon, the god of the sea. For generations, they lived in harmony, governed by laws that valued virtue above all else. Their military was mighty, with a powerful navy and a vast army, and their influence extended across parts of Europe and Africa. They were, in essence, the pinnacle of human achievement, a civilization far ahead of its time. But, as the story goes, their utopian existence was not to last. Over time, something began to change. The divine nature of the Atlanteans became diluted, and they were consumed by greed, ambition, and hubris. They began to wage unjust wars, seeking to conquer the known world. It was this moral decay, this fall from grace, that Plato says led to their catastrophic downfall, in a dramatic and terrifying climax to the tale. Plato writes that in a single day and night of misfortune, the island of Atlantis was struck by violent earthquakes and floods. And just like that, this once mighty empire, with all its splendor and power, vanished beneath the waves. Swallowed by the sea, lost to history forever. This is the foundational legend, the original blueprint for every Atlantis story that has followed. But was Plato telling a true story passed down through generations, or was he crafting a philosophical allegory? That's the core of the mystery. Slight pause. Music shift for centuries after Plato. The story of Atlantis was largely considered just that, a story, a myth. Many scholars, both ancient and modern, have argued that Plato invented Atlantis as a literary device. They suggest it was a fictional cautionary tale designed to illustrate his political and philosophical ideas. In this view, Atlantis represents the corrupt, materialistic, and expansionist empire, a stark contrast to his idealized vision of ancient Athens, which he portrayed as a virtuous and just society. By describing the catastrophic destruction of Atlantis as divine punishment for its arrogance and greed, Plato could have been warning his fellow Greeks about the dangers of hubris and imperial ambition. It was a powerful lesson. No matter how advanced or mighty a civilization becomes, moral decay will inevitably lead to its ruin. From this perspective, searching for a physical Atlantis is like searching for the literal land of Oz. It misses the point entirely. The value of the story isn't in its historical accuracy, but in the timeless moral lessons it contains. Furthermore, skeptics point out a critical fact. Besides Plato, no other ancient writer from his time or before mentions Atlantis. If a superpower that dominated the Atlantic and Mediterranean had truly existed and then vanished so dramatically, wouldn't there be other records? Wouldn't other historians, like Herodotus, who documented the Persian Wars in great detail, have mentioned such a formidable adversary? This lack of corroborating evidence is perhaps the single biggest argument against the existence of a literal Atlantis. It seems to exist only within the pages of Plato's work, making it seem much more like a product of his incredible imagination. Slight pause, music shift, and yet, despite these strong arguments, the idea that Atlantis was a real place has refused to die. The allure of a lost, advanced civilization is just too powerful to dismiss as mere fiction for many. Over the centuries, countless theories have emerged, each proposing a different location for the sunken island. The search for Atlantis has become a global treasure hunt. One of the most popular and compelling theories places Atlantis in the Mediterranean. Specifically, it connects the legend to the Minoan civilization, which flourished on the island of Crete and the volcanic island of Thera, now known as Santorini. Around 1600 BC, Thera experienced one of the largest volcanic eruptions in human history. The eruption was cataclysmic. It blew the center of the island apart, creating the caldera we see today, and triggered massive tsunamis that would have devastated coastal communities across the Mediterranean, including the northern coast of Crete, the heart of the Minoan civilization. The parallels are striking. The Minoans were an advanced Bronze Age culture with impressive palaces, vibrant art, and a powerful navy. The sudden and violent destruction of Thera and the subsequent decline of Minoan power sound remarkably similar to Plato's account of Atlantis sinking in a single day and night of misfortune. Could Plato's story be a distorted, second-hand memory of this real historical event, passed down through generations for over 1,000 years until it reached him? It's a tantalizing possibility that anchors the myth in a real, documented catastrophe. But the Mediterranean isn't the only candidate. Other researchers have looked exactly where Plato said to look, beyond the Pillars of Hercules, in the vast expanse of the Atlantic Ocean. Theories have proposed locations everywhere from the Azores and the Canary Islands, the peaks of submerged mountains to the Caribbean, with some even pointing to the mysterious underwater rock formation known as the Bimini Road in the Bahamas as a potential remnant of Atlantean construction. More recently, controversial satellite images have revealed strange grid-like patterns on the ocean floor in various locations, sparking renewed speculation. One such location off the coast of Spain, near the Donana National Park, has been investigated as a possible site. Researchers have found evidence of what they believe are memorial cities built by the survivors of Atlantis in the image of their sunken homeland. While mainstream archaeology remains highly skeptical of these claims, these theories continue to fuel the public imagination and the ongoing search. Each new discovery, whether it's an underwater ruin or an ancient map, adds another layer to this enduring puzzle. Slight pause, music shift beyond geography. What keeps the legend of Atlantis so alive is the idea of a lost golden age of humanity. The story taps into a deep-seated hope that our ancient ancestors were more than we imagined, that they possessed advanced knowledge and wisdom that has been lost to time. Proponents of a real, technologically advanced Atlantis often point to mysteries that mainstream history struggles to explain. How were ancient marvels like the pyramids of Giza or Stonehenge built with such precision using seemingly primitive tools? Could knowledge have been passed down from a much older, more advanced mother culture like Atlantis? This idea of a lost source of ancient wisdom has been championed by writers from Ignatius Donnelly in the 19th century to Graham Hancock in our own time. They argue that ancient myths of floods and sunken lands from cultures all around the world might not be isolated legends, but shared memories of a single global cataclysm that wiped a great civilization off the map. Could the Atlanteans have possessed knowledge of astronomy, mathematics, and even forms of energy that we are only now rediscovering? This is where the line between historical inquiry and speculative fantasy often blurs. While there is no concrete evidence to support claims of hyper-advanced Atlantean technology, the idea itself is a powerful one. It challenges our linear view of history, suggesting that progress is not always a straight line forward. It hints that perhaps we are not the pinnacle of civilization, but merely recovering from a great forgetting. This notion adds a profound, almost spiritual dimension to the search for Atlantis. It's no longer just about finding a sunken city, it's about recovering a lost piece of our own human story, a legacy of forgotten greatness. Slight pause, music shift and begins to fade out, so, after sailing through ancient texts, diving to volcanic craters, and exploring the fringes of historical theory, where do we stand? Was Atlantis a real, physical empire of gold and orichalcum, or a brilliant philosophical fable? The truth is, we still don't know for sure. The academic and scientific consensus remains firm. There is no definitive archaeological evidence to prove that the civilization Plato described ever existed. The story is most likely a myth, a powerful allegory from the mind of a genius. But the absence of evidence is not evidence of absence. The ocean is vast and deep, and we have explored less than 5% of it. Who knows what secrets still lie hidden beneath the waves, buried under millennia of sand and sediment? The legend of Atlantis endures because it speaks to the explorer and the dreamer in all of us. It represents the ultimate mysteria reminder that the past is not fully known and that our world is still full of wonders waiting to be discovered. Perhaps, in the end, it doesn't matter whether Atlantis was real or not. Its true power lies in the questions it forces us to ask about our history, our potential, and our own hubris. It's a story that will continue to inspire us to look deeper, to question what we think we know, and to keep searching for the truth. History is still writing its final chapter on Atlantis. Maybe one day, a discovery will be made that changes everything. Until then, the lost empire will remain where it has been for over 2 millennia, shimmering on the horizon, somewhere between myth and reality. Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive into one of history's greatest enigmas. What do you believe? Is Atlantis a myth? Or is there a lost civilization waiting to be found? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this journey into the unknown, please don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you won't miss our next adventure into the past. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.